Hello, everybody. So we'll get started. All right. So my name is Nicholas Coppola, and this is my teacher candidate work sample for the spring 2021 semester. So I completed my HPE 418 teaching at Central Falls High School in Central Falls, Rhode Island, and I taught mental and emotional health. I taught grades 9 and 10 for 4 lessons, and in my class I had about 25 students, but in our Google Meet in total, I had anywhere from 35 to 50 students. 25 students that I assessed, should I say. So I decided to do this unit on mental and emotional health because of some pretty shocking numbers that I found. About 31% of 9th and 10th graders in Rhode Island reported feeling sad or hopeless every day for at least 2 weeks. So they stopped doing usual activities during the year before the survey. So that's 1 in every 3 9th and 10th graders. That's pretty significant. They felt so sad or hopeless every day for at least 2 weeks that they stopped doing things that they would typically do, which is pretty shocking to me. And then 16.5% of 9th graders and 15.7% of 10th graders attempted suicide within a year of the survey. So that was a lot. And the median household income for the city was about 33,000 compared to the national average of about 63,000, which is widely known that money issues can greatly increase the chances of poor mental or emotional health and, enhance your feelings of anxiety, worry, hopelessness, things of that nature. So my unit goals and objectives for the unit. Objective 1 was analyzing the environmental factors. Everything we related to mental and emotional health, obviously. So objective 1 would be analyzing the environmental factors that affect mental and emotional health. Objective 2, analyzing the social factors that, affect mental and emotional health. And objective 3 would be our health enhancing behaviors behind both of those that would help enhance our mental and emotional health or emotional health. Our unit assessments. I did a Google Forms pre-test. I kind of relied on Google Forms a little bit just because of the language barrier, and there was 3 different languages, and it was easier for me to convert them. Students were familiar with Google Forms, so I kind of fell back on it a little bit. For lesson 1, did a little Venn diagram, talked about the differences of mental and emotional health in lesson 1. So I did a little Venn diagram with both mental health, emotional health, and factors that affect both of them. It worked out really well. I did pair deck questions for lesson 2. Just used it right in my slideshow. That was very easy for me. Conflict resolution assessment, that was Google Forms. And then the infographic was my performance assessment. So in lesson 1, like I said earlier, we talked about what is mental and emotional health, talked about analyzing environmental factors, what goes on around you in your environment, in your community, in your home that can affect your mental and emotional health. Lesson 2, how is mental and emotional health affected by what you consume? So talked about, social media, talked about friend groups, peer pressure, the majority of students, or what you think the majority is, and how that affects you. Lesson 3, health enhancing behaviors, how you deal with all these things, what you do to make yourself feel better, and is that healthy? And then our performance assessment, of course, completing the infographic on Google Slides. So my pre-assessment, the objectives were, let me move myself down here. The objectives were all matched up with questions except for number 7. You can take a look at these questions. I'm not going to go into them too deep, but objective 1 asked about the environmental factors, how it can affect you. 3 and 4 asked about social norms, social factors that could affect you, how they affect you. And 5 and 6, what you can do to combat this. How can you increase or enhance a positive mental or emotional well-being? Question 7 I put in there just to make students kind of feel comfortable if they had questions about, mental and emotional health and they wanted to know something specific, something that related to their life. I gave them an opportunity to voice that there. Didn't get too much in that section, but I would have appreciated that as a student. So I put that in there and glad I did. Sorry about that. So the performance assessment, like I said, the infographic was used in a Google Slides. This is just a screenshot of it. It's a little introduction to let students know what we're doing. I made a mistake with the Venn diagram, thinking that, of course they've completed a Venn diagram before, and I had to explain it 2 or 3 times. So for the infographic, I just gave them a little explanation on what it is that we're doing, what is expected of them before the directions and the breakdown. So these are the directions. This was the following slide. If students inserted the correct information and followed these instructions, they met all the standards. And I voiced that to them. If you go by these instructions, you follow these 9 things, one after the other, after the other, after the other, you will get 100 on this. It's not very difficult. So these are just some examples. I'm just going to show this one. I have, I think, another one on my next slide. So this was a student named Lyneth, very active in class, just really bought into what we were doing during this unit. So this was my rubric. And in my rubric, there was no points included. I just wanted students to meet standards. They weren't being graded on points by their teacher from my unit. So I felt it would be unfair to put points on my rubric and kind of make them freak out a little bit for no reason. So she did exceed all the standards. The environmental factors look great. So societal factors look great. And the health enhancing behaviors looked good. But the 2 that I did not give credit for were these 2 bottom ones. Change things that make me feel bad and continue to do things that make me happy. Of course, you know what I mean? If you were sad or in a bad place, of course you would want to change the things that make you feel bad and continue to do things that make you feel happy. But what are those things? Change them how? Continue to do what? That's what I was really looking for. What exactly are you going to do? Of course you're going to do those things, but what are they? So that's why for this criterion, she received almost meet standard. But overall, she did a great job. Looks beautiful. This was actually a GIF where it was zipping down and it was an alien, zip backed up and it was a woman. That was really cool. Appreciated that. And then this was another student named Yanel. He did a great job as well. So just some educational tools, used Padlet, used Google Slides, even got a definition from Merriam-Webster Dictionary. And then this little link. This brought us to the Central Falls High School page. So this I used for one of my lessons, just showing the students that they have an opportunity to talk to counselors, to talk to social workers and people within the school, officials. I reached out to the secretary of the school and they said that they're actually available via Zoom. I let the students know that it can be confidential. It doesn't have to be recorded. You don't have to tell your parents about it. They're not going to tell your parents about it if you'd like to meet with them privately. For students who, do strictly distance learning. So I think this was an important part of the lesson to really go over, to see like, hey, you have resources and there are people here to help you. You might think that you're home alone, but you're not. We are still committed to helping you and being the best person that you can, and you are not alone. So I think this was an important resource to share. And I left that on Mr. Lapierre's Google Classroom as well. So let's get into it. I'm gonna put myself down here. So this was unit objective 1. As you can see in the pre-test, got a little over 50% of students meeting the objective. And then in the post, they surpassed my 70% expectation of them. Got almost 90%. It was great. Students responded really well. They wanted to talk about their environment. They wanted to talk about their home life, their community, maybe not get too crazy involved in it, but they did a great job. Really buying into what we were talking about. And you could tell that students wanted to talk about this topic. So what we used was Google Slide, Padlet, discussions, the website that I just showed you with the resources. And students were active in discussion, like every other objective that I'm going to talk about. Throughout the whole unit, students were involved. Some days, more sluggish than others, but they were involved, whether it be verbally or in the chat. And it was great. What I could have done better, this is for this lesson, but also for the unit, was asking higher level questions. I asked questions that engaged students in discussion, but the higher level questions would have just got them that much higher and enhanced their learning that much more. Like I said, the direction giving for the Venn diagram assessment wasn't great either, because they've never done it before. So I do, we do, they do would have helped a lot. We could have done one together. They did it on their own. I checked it out, and then they did it by themselves. So met the standard for objective 1. Objective 2, same thing, got just about 45% on the pretest, and then a little over 80 on my post. So for this, we did a pair deck presentation where I also did the assessment, as you saw earlier. A little Instagram versus reality, talking about social norms. I thought that went great, and that was what connected with them the best, because a lot of students are on social media a lot of the time. And just showing them that, I showed them celebrities, showed them fitness models, what they really look like and things like that. Because you can start to think that that is a body norm, that, most people are ripped with a 6-pack and, are doing crazy cardio workouts for 2 hours a day. Like, you can start to think that's the norm if that's all you see on social media, that's all you consume, especially if you don't go to school and see normal kids. You go to school online, everyone's cameras off, and, you don't see many people. You could start to think that that's normal and feel bad about yourself. So that's something I definitely wanted to relay. Like I said earlier, they provided real life examples. Students were not afraid to contribute to the discussion, talk about their real life, talk about what impacts them. Another success was students started talking about music, started kind of arguing about who their favorite artist was. I kind of had to shut that down in the chat. We were getting a little off topic, and they listened right away. It was great. So for improvement, definitely ensure students' understanding of the words. I think the language barrier did me a slight injustice on this, but it is also my responsibility to make sure that everyone knows, what we're talking about and what exactly is going on. So I should have stopped, repeated what a social norm is, what we're talking about, what it relates to, and then move forward. But all food for thought. And then unit objective 3, met the objective once again, getting about 80% on our post when we got less than 50 on our pre-test. Google Slides presentation again. I stole some affirmation writing from Dr. Clark and used some positive self-talk techniques. I would say the success in this is just, we had built a great relationship, the students and I, as a class, honestly. And they're willing to listen what I had to say, and they're believing me. You know what I mean? Some I work in the inner city, and some students, they could just smell out if you're fake, if you're lying, or you're there for an alternative reason other than to help them. But if you're being real, they can sense it and they'll respond to it. So, I was talking about experiences in my life where positive self-talk actually did help. And when I was their age, when someone would tell me that, yeah, yeah, what am I gonna tell myself? Hey, you can do it. That's how I thought when I was their age. I was like, this isn't gonna help me. But as I got older, it did help me, and I still do it to this day. And telling yourself you can do it, and we're gonna get through this, and you can push for one more, and things like that. It actually does help you significantly. It's proven. Um, and just being real with them really helped. So for improvement, definitely limit talk time. As you can tell, I haven't taken a breath for the past 25 minutes. Love to talk, but something that I can't always do. You have to give students an opportunity to interact, talk in the discussion, and be themselves. Either make great inferences, or maybe make a mistake and build off of that and say, can you see how it's this way, or what other way do you think it could be? So you have to open the lines for that opportunity. So as I said, all the objectives were met. I think students did a great job, interacting, being a part of the class, and actively learning. Um, I definitely need some higher order questioning, limiting my talk time. I think it did a good job relating material to the real life. And I think that's what really kept them involved. Them looking at material and saying, oh, this isn't someone just coming and teaching me something random. This actually relates to me and will relate to me down the road. So I'm being an effective health educator, just bringing enthusiasm, incorporating the real life examples, asking questions, directly addressing any classroom issues, whether that be technological issues like I had with a couple videos, and then moving forward from that, or chat etiquette, class etiquette, student expectations, addressing everything directly. Don't let anything go under the radar. Direction giving must be clear and concise, especially with students who are ELL learners, because some students are shy and they won't say anything. And then at the end of the class, you'll have 3 assessments out of 25, and you'll be like, what happened? Why did no one do that? Because they didn't understand. Forming relationships with students in a positive group environment. This will make students want to work for you, whether they like your content or not. If they feel that you're an important person to them, or they feel like you're worth giving them you're worth their time, they'll do it for you, even if they don't want to. And that was a huge part about my class. Just like my CT was saying, he's like, I've never seen this many people do work in my class before. It's because they have a relationship with you. You're new, you're young. Take advantage of that. So this is just my data. If you want to click on this link, data to my spreadsheet for my objectives and my charts, my references. Thank you, everybody.